It's 4 o'clock on Tuesday. Yes, it is. It's Tuesday, damn it. And we're ready for another exciting episode of Taxi's Quarantini Happy Hour. Woo, baby! Hello, everybody. And thank you, fake audience. Thank you, fake band. Let me get into that chat room and say hello. Oops. I got to get situated. My chair is not cooperating. Hello, Dan Weber, Bob Gunnerfeld, Kira Canyon, Ian Shortle, Nancy Colell, Greg Carosa, Rick Cabot, Podmore, Boom. Hi, guys. Andre Stepanian. We need to do another fishing show. Hey, Andre, by the way, some time ago you posted, where do I send fishing pictures? Send them to Taxi TV at taxi.com. Hello, Martin Gravel and Wind Chimes, Mark Reel, Darren Fletcher. The gang is all here. How are you guys today? You know, every time I'm looking over there, it's because I'm looking at my big face on the screen. I should be looking right there at the camera. But I've got the camera situated over the chat room so I can read and talk to you guys. So, hello, Marion, Brad Gray, John Pearson, Edmund Red, Peter Rayhill. Our little family is here. Dave Merkel. Thank you. Yeah, yesterday, I love talking to Shirelli. He's always great to have on the show. Hello, Justin Mather. How are you, buddy? Haven't seen you in a while. Let's see, who else? Joseph Alonzo, Marcus, Robert Martin, Riffs That Rule. We are family. Yes, we are, Dan. How are you guys? You know what? I'm going to make it a little cooler in here. It's really hot under the studio lights. Okay. Jesse Kerrigan, Jim Stamper, yeah, Shirelli giving away free t-shirts today. No, you know, actually, I've got to start working on Road Rally t-shirts. Yeah, I can't believe. Hello, Robert. I can't pronounce your last name. I'm sorry. Orzechowska or Orzechowski. I got it. Hello, Jay Lee. So, yeah, I had no idea Rob was going to give away all that software. I felt bad for Scott Hansen. He kept saying, I can't get it. I'm using the code. I can't get it. I saw it over and over and over and over in the chat room. But I couldn't take my mind off the show, you know. So hopefully he got that worked out. Yeah, I love Shirelli. He's literally like a brother to me. And the two of us, you know, what you hear on Taxi TV is pretty much like what we're like when we're hanging out, you know. He's just, hello, Paul House. How are you? Up late. Yeah, Shirelli is so down to earth, so humble. And wow, Greg Carosa already used some of the software. Cool. Oh, I should probably have a drink of some Rockstar so that rather than coughing, I can burp on the show. There you go. Hello, El Raso. Songs from a headband. Excuse me. Yeah, one day let's have a burping contest on the show. That would be fun. Hello, Pete Mason. So, yeah, you know, Shirelli doesn't put on any airs. You would think after 4 Grammys, literally somewhere around 100 gold and platinum records. I mean, what can I say? He recently got asked to actually produce some stuff for like 2 world-class major superstars. But it would require going into the studio and, you know, who knows? They're trying to work it out. But he's got the offer for the gig. I hope it happens for his sake. I mean, the guy has worked with, like, Madonna, Ray Charles, Stevie Wonder, just you name it, and never any ego. Rob reminds me of Al Schmidt. Both employ top recording and mix engineering techniques. Yep. Um, yeah, he's a really good guy, and doesn't take anything for granted. He's one of those people that wakes up every day feeling grateful for all the good stuff that's happened in his career. Hello, Debbie Ward. He It's funny, I know Rob like super well, and he is absolutely like an obsessive perfectionist. But it amazes me that he can actually do what he says. When he listens to something, he can just go, "All right, it's done," and walk away from it and move on to the next thing, which is completely opposite from his perfectionist side. Hello, Michael McGraw, Jesse J. Peck. My mom was all about me being ladylike, except for burping. She was so impressed. um, Edmund wants to know, are there delays in listing results? It's usually around 3 weeks. It's been over a month, just asking. Yeah, actually, I was talking to Tom about that yesterday. As I've mentioned on a previous episode, maybe I'll repeat it or elaborate. Since Quarantini, of course, wow, there are two rabbits chasing each other out in the backyard. I mean, like running after each other. Clearly, it must be next round of mating season. It looks like there's going to be a lucky rabbit. He's trying to wear her down. Honestly, if the rabbits start going at it in the backyard, I promise I'll turn the camera around. Oh man, the weird things that happened during this show. What the hell was I talking? Oh, the delay. Like I've mentioned before, since we've been quarantined and all the screeners are working remotely, it's been harder to get them to nail the deadlines. It really has. And sometimes we have to make a decision, go, well, the person on the receiving end isn't like dying, to have this in their hands. If somebody needs something like bingo right on the money, we absolutely get it to them. There are other listings where, let's say it's a library, where they go, yeah, see if you can find me this. And we say, okay, when do you need it? And they go, I don't know, whatever is good for you guys, like, 4, 5, 6 weeks from now. So on something like that, they will opt to put the screeners on the emergency thing or the quick turnaround thing, and let the other thing where the timeline isn't critical, let that go long. So I'm sorry. All I can tell you is someday the virus hopefully will be gone, life will return to normal, and we will be hitting our deadlines as well as we have for the last 28 years. You have my sincere apology, though. Wow, a lot of stuff flying by. So your mixing lesson using your garden window, very well described, made a lot of sense. Thanks for that. You're welcome. Seems like a long time since I submitted some COVID cues. Yeah, there was this giant rush, tons of listings for COVID-related stuff. I think everybody has become a little bit numb to the whole COVID thing. I mean, clearly not to the point where, they're not wearing masks or worried about getting it. And clearly for the families who have lost loved ones, it's anything but routine. Or families that, have loved ones that are in the hospital that they can't go see. For them, it's very real, very present. For most of us, it's something we hear about on TV, and depending on what's going on with other news, it sometimes gets pushed to the back a little bit. Let's see. Hi, I'm new. This is Keith Sumner. I'm new, so everybody else knows already. Whoops. Let's see. Let me scroll back up to that one. Um, okay, Keith Sumner says, I'm new, so everybody else probably knows this already, but you did say last night you were actually an engineer before you started Taxi. I was. I worked on records for many years, and then at some point when I realized I was spending no time with my family, I left South Florida, which is where I did most of my engineering and production work, and moved to New York City and got into the world of doing audio post at a very high level, and was very fortunate to work at what at the time was the preeminent audio post facility anywhere on the planet. So I learned an awful lot about doing audio post. So all that was great training, because I used music libraries. I mixed TV shows, I mixed commercials, and so I got to learn about film, TV music, and came from a record background. So I've got all that under my belt, which set me up nicely to start Taxi. Okay, so I am going to call Randon Purcell, successful Taxi member Randon Purcell, who has been on the show several times. He's become a very good friend over the last few years. And in his spare time, which, the dude gets up at 4:30 in the morning to start working on making music. He's also got a full-time job, computer programming, and Randon and two partners started a software company making instruments, largely targeted at the trailer composer market. And I saw the other day that they just came out with something new, and frankly, I haven't had any time to check it out. So let's give Randon a call so he can tell us all about it. Let's see, recent. There we go.
Hello.
Hello, Randon. How are you?
Hey, good. How are you?
I'm great, thanks. Good to hear your voice, buddy.
Yeah, you too.
Thanks. So yeah, I was just warming up the audience for you and telling them that you came up with yet another software instrument, which I'm just flabbergasted by how often you guys are able to crank this stuff out. I do not know how you find the time, but so tell us what it's called, what it does, and then we can go through the list of other stuff that you've got. And just so everybody knows who's watching the show, I don't get a kickback. I in no way make any money from this. I just know Randon and know that anything he does is done really, really well. And I have checked out the other software, the other instruments that they have made, and watched all the videos. And the stuff is like far and away just the greatest suite of tools for people who it's targeted mostly at trailer composers, but you could absolutely use it for stuff that's not trailer wise. So take it away, Randon. Tell us all about it.
All right. Well, thanks for that intro.
You're welcome.
Yeah. So the new instrument we made, it's called Trailer Trash, and there's kind of a little bit of humor to that name. It's a cinematic metals instrument, really, and it's called Trailer Trash because all of the recordings, the source recordings, were made from a giant dump trailer that a friend of mine owns, and we were doing some house renovations together, and I had that thing filled up halfway with trash, and we were banging on it and opening the rusty, squeaky doors, and I thought, this is too good. I've got to record all of this and turn it into a percussion instrument. And so we just, spent several hours banging things and scraping things, and then, hours and hours, obviously, of editing those recordings and turning it into this playable instrument. So yeah, Trailer Trash. It's basically a metal percussion instrument. We've got all sorts of sounds in there for making, from booms, like low sub booms. We've got some risers that were made out of the scraping noises and rusty gates. We've got the metal cage kind of hits in there. We've got big low boomy hits and high metals and all sorts of goodness. And we built a few different instruments in there. There's a designer that lets you mix and match a few different layers of all of these source recordings so that you can design your own big metal hits. We've got a metal kit that we laid out with several different metallic sounds that you can play more like a drum percussion instrument. We've got risers, booms, and a whole ton of whoosh effects that go with the hits that are also all made from these same source recordings and just highly manipulated and warped. So yeah, it's it's surprisingly fun to play with, and like you mentioned, I mean, it is great for trailers. I've used it on many already, but it's actually really cool for production music too, because a lot of those, you know, TV shows like The Challenge and those kind of, you know, action cues and stuff like that, metal percussion is just so fantastic for it. And this is a great way to get that at a much lower cost than a lot of other, you know, metallic trailer libraries out there.
So the instrument, and I'm saying that in quotes, that you used, the metal trailer thing, or the dumpster, was it one of those things like when you're doing a house renovation and the company drops that big thing off in your driveway?
It was kind of like that, but this is one that gets pulled behind a truck, like on a trailer hitch.
Okay.
And it has metal cages down the sides of it, and then it's one of those with hydraulics, so you can then tip it over and dump it at the dump, right?
Got it.
And so we recorded those hydraulics too for the risers. So yeah, just all sorts of good sounds coming from that hideous rusted trailer. And this thing's ancient, so you open the gate and it sounds like Godzilla roaring almost. It's just awful. But it was so awful, it's wonderful, right?
Yep. It reminds me of my first wife.
Yeah.
Sorry, I feel an obligation to bring her up like 1 out of every 10 episodes. If she ever watches any of these things, I am dead meat, like I care. Anyway, she's a lovely woman, and I'm sure she's fine.
Well done.
Thank you. I remember when we bought this house around 20 years ago, we were doing about like 8 months worth of renovations, and we had those big containers that they drop off in your driveway, you know. One morning we woke up, it was like 6:30, 6:45 in the morning, and we kept hearing the sound of breaking glass and metal, all stuff that you would love probably, and whipped open the curtains to look out in the driveway, and there were a couple of guys with their own trailer that were actually rifling through our trailer to see what they could salvage. And I went out there and said, "What the hell are you doing?" They go, "You're not keeping this stuff." And, you know, they had a point. It's like, sure, Go ahead, take it. It created more room for us to fill the thing up so we didn't have to pay for a second rental. So it was all good in the end.
That's awesome. Yeah, I've had those big dumpsters in front of my house before. And when I've had those, I have gone out and recorded me banging on them with baseball bats and stuff.
Yeah.
Just for my own use. I had never thought of turning it into an instrument 4 or 5 years ago. But now, you know, every time I hear something cool, I'm thinking, hey, that could make a cool instrument. So.
Can you give everybody the URL where they can go find it and watch a video and check out some of the things?
Sure, yeah. Yep, it's just falloutmusicgroup.com. And I will add one thing for Trailer Trash specifically. We released it 2 weeks ago, and for the first 30 days of its release, we're donating literally 100% of all of the sales of that to Shriners Hospitals for Children.
Awesome.
So I'm covering the download fees and everything. So literally 100% of what you pay for Trailer Trash is going straight to Shriners for another 2 weeks now.
Wow. That's awesome. We're fans of Shriners here at the Lasco household because when our daughter Hannah was probably about 3 years old, she was sitting at the foot of our bed watching the TV in our bedroom, and the TV commercial came on with that, I don't know, it might have been a different kid than the one who is the spokesperson now, 'cause that kid is super talented. That kid should do like voiceovers for a living. He's amazing. Anyway, Hannah turned us, I think it's like $19.95 a month or something that you donate. And Hannah said, "We have to donate to this. Sign us up right now, Daddy." So,
oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, I whipped out the laptop and signed up, and we've been given $20 a month, literally for 20 years. And
Oh, that's awesome.
yeah, it's an incredible charity. The work
They are, and I have a nephew. He's 25 now, 26. But ever since he's been 1 to 2 years old, Shriners was doing surgery after surgery, special wheelchairs, you name it for him. They've done so much that anytime I want to do anything for charity, it's going to be Shriners. They are truly amazing.
Well, God bless you for making sure that all that money is going to them. It's an incredibly worthy cause, and I might just go buy some software just so I can make an additional donation. And someday when I actually download a DAW and start using it, I'll use the software.
Yeah, use it, make some noises, have some fun, right?
Absolutely. So what have you been working on personally as far as musical stuff lately?
So I've done a few albums this year for libraries, mostly hybrid orchestral. I say that lightly because not like your big, superhero kind of hybrid orchestral, but more like Mad Max kind of hybrid orchestral, action kind of stuff. Right now I'm in the middle of a really fun live string horror album. This doing live solo strings mixed with all sorts of noises made from those strings. So I hired someone to bang on their string instruments and make horrible noises that I turned into other fun little private instruments that I use. And I'm just kind of making a horror album out of it.
Wow,
So,
you could have gone to like a violin teacher teaching 5-year-olds and gotten those sounds.
well, it's funny because for Christmas last year, Aaron asked me what I wanted, and I said, just buy me a cheap violin, viola, and cello that I can destroy because I don't know how to play any of them. And so I have been doing exactly that. I probably sound like a 5-year-old taking his first lesson, but I do that a lot and just make screeching noises on these things and turn them into other things. So it is, it's a lot of fun.
And how are the other guys doing? I don't know why I'm drawing a blank though. Your partners in Fallout.
Oh, sure. Yeah, Andrew Skipper and Kyle Nicely.
Right. How's Kyle doing in particular? I actually know him. He was a taxi member that my favorite kind of taxi member, the kind that doesn't need us anymore because he used us as a launching pad and became successful because of it. So I'm proud of him.
Yep.
And what's he up to?
Yeah, he's doing well. I know he's working on some albums and whatnot too. And then doing he's working on another Fallout instrument, which is going to be horror based. That'll be coming out later this year. And then, Andrew also doing well and working on albums for a few different publishers. And in fact, we just released an instrument that he was responsible for last month, which was a horror Stixx instrument. All, horror percussion based on the breaking of twigs and sticks and bundles of sticks and all that sort of thing. We're all having fun making all sorts of noises together.
God, it's like you guys get to be kids, but you're grown-ups, and make money being childlike. That sounds perfect.
Right, that's exactly it. Well, the funny thing is, we were all doing this and talking to each other for last year, making noises and sharing them with each other, and turning some of them into little ugly contact instruments because we weren't planning on selling them, just so that we could use them and share them with each other. And it just kind of evolved from that. So yeah, it's just been really fun working with these guys, and it's always nice when you have someone you can bounce ideas off of and they can tell you if it's a terrible idea or a good one,
Well, here, I've got an idea for you. When you guys are ready to do the burping and farting album, I've got a bunch of people in the chat room that would like to volunteer their services.
All right, I will definitely let you know on that. I think I can't remember the company. I want to say it was Sound Iron, but they released a farting instrument like last year.
Well, a fart slowed down and pitched down does sound an awful lot like a lion roar, but don't ask me
right?
how I know that.
Don't ask. Yeah, exactly. How do you know that?
I may have told you this already, and I've probably told the people in the chat room, but many, many years ago. I think it was probably around 1975 or 76 when I was still working at Criteria Studios in Miami. There was a percussionist that played on like the Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young stuff. He was a frequently seen percussionist under the roof at Criteria. His name was Joey Lala, and I think he has since passed away, sadly. But I think I filled in. A friend of mine was the assistant engineer on an album by the group The Outlaws, kind of a country rock band, more like a southern rock band, I guess, of the day. And I went out to like do a food run or go to the restroom or something, and I walked back in the control room. I looked out in the studio, and there was Joey with his pants down around his ankles. And I see a mic cable hanging between his legs, and I went, "Holy crap! What is going on here?" And they actually took. I can't believe I was out of the room for like minutes, and they took a KM84, which is like a 4 or 5 inch long microphone that's a ½ inch wide. They stuck it in a baggie, lubed it up, and he inserted it where the sun don't shine. And he was actually like flexing his stomach muscles, playing a rhythm part on his stomach muscles, and they compressed the hell out of it, EQ'd the hell out of it, and it actually sounded really good. And somewhere out there, I think it was that album, I don't know exactly which one, but there's an album out there that says Sphinctophone, Joey Lala.
Wow, that is crazy. I can guarantee you I will not be going to those links for any of our instruments. There's certain noises I don't want to record.
Yeah, well,
That's crazy.
I rarely swear on taxi TV, but it's a shitty business, but sometimes somebody's got to do it, Yeah,
that is priceless. Wow.
Darren Moss says, "Who's saying on that microphone next?"
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was thinking too. Like, I hope that thing went straight in the trash.
Yeah, actually, I did have to put the microphone away at the end of the session, but it was in a baggie, But I do remember washing my hands more than I do after COVID. Like a trip to the grocery store.
I don't know of any baggie that would do the trick on that one. That's like prison mic right there.
Yeah, there you go. I don't remember if they patted it or rolled it off or what, but it really did sound pretty good. We've all done that, where we've played along on our stomachs, but I don't think many of us have actually inserted the microphone.
No, I think a contact mic on my stomach will do the trick. I'll just go for that.
Yeah, there you go.
That's hilarious.
They should have used one of my favorite microphones, which is the Sony ECM50 lavalier. It would have gone up there a lot easier. Oh, man.
That's hilarious. Wow. I would never have guessed that happened, but I guess,
Yeah, well, that's what you get when you mix the party materials of the 70s with alcohol in a recording session thing.
Yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense now.
Yep.
Context is everything on that one.
Yeah, somebody in the chat room just said, "Can you imagine if that were a Neumann?" Like a big Neumann.
Yeah, no one's sticking a TLM 103 up there.
Yeah, that would hurt. Oh, man. Anyway, so what else could we chat about? Let's see. Tell us more about the Stixx instrument. I'm kind of fascinated by that. My wife, Deb, and I have been watching the TV series Outlander. We've been binging it like crazy for the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks. And it's a time travel series that largely takes place like in the 1740s and 50s, and a little bit in the post World War II, and a little bit in 1968. But there are a lot of scenes out in the forest where some dark things happen in the forest, and I would imagine that some of your sounds from that instrument would be really applicable to the score there. Can you describe some for us?
Yeah, so what we wanted, whenever something comes out in a trailer, there's always a lot of it that kind of copycats it, so to speak.
Right.
And clocks ticking is a big one, right?
Yeah.
It started happening a while back, and then then it kind of gets overused, and then the editors start saying, well, I want something like clock ticking, but I don't want clocks ticking. And so we were talking about what we could use instead of clocks, and we thought, well, snapping twigs are really cool. And if we snap them individually and then in small groups, medium groups, and big groups, that's also really cool. And so we kind of started out with that. And I didn't do any of the samples on that one. That's one of our signature artist instruments where one person does all of the samples. I make the instruments and code them. I did all the Trailer Trash ones. Andrew did all of the Stixx ones. And so it was all kind of on a play for getting those ticking and scratching noises. So he dragged Stixx across different surfaces and snapped them in big different sized groups and did it dozens and dozens of times so that there's some variety as you're playing them. And then there's some in there that are edited and manipulated so they're pitched down and have different effects on them so they don't really sound like twigs anymore, but more of some kind of creepy percussion. So it just kind of turned into this really great little horror percussion instrument. And then, like we do on a lot of our instruments, we offered a lot of different features to pitch them and morph them further. So, it doesn't sound like the same samples being used over and over again. We also threw in some loops that are all morphed and weird. But yeah, it's really geared toward horror. Though I've also used them in some pretty big epic kind of percussion ensembles. They're really great for adding that high kind of cracking sound on top of your percussion. So they do have a place there and in production music as well. So and that's another dirt cheap one. I think we sell that for $25. But yeah, if you're doing horror or anything like that, it's really fun to play with.
I was thinking about you. I saw that you emailed me like 4 or 5 days ago, and I'm sorry I haven't returned the email, but I'm just
no worries.
Literally overwhelmed with the staff working remotely. Not only do I get my normal deluge of emails from the rest of the world every day, I get a lot of emails and texts from the staff, and I have to prioritize. Clearly, I didn't think you were that important. So.
Right. I'm used to it. Don't worry.
I'm sorry. Oh, you're married, are you?
I sent my wife an email 3 weeks ago. I still haven't heard back. So,
Anyway, I remember I was probably in the middle of, because I've been watching Outlander, basically from 8 o'clock at night until midnight or later. The phone is off and the laptop is off because we're busy binging Outlander. But I was thinking about you the other night, and the question I had that night was, how has the lack of theatrical release right now during COVID affected the trailer industry, if at all? Because I would assume that that the rules for trailers, and maybe I'm wrong about this, but it seems like trailers that will air online or air on TV might be different than what would air in a theatrical setting. Is that true? And have you seen a difference?
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, with no new movies, none of the big ones are getting released, obviously, or if they are, they're going straight to streaming platforms. And just like before COVID, any trailer that they're putting out on TV or internet is going to obviously pay a lot less than something that's going to play in a theater. So those big trailer payouts just aren't happening right now. And hopefully that changes as they start making movies again and start releasing movies again. For me, most of my placements actually have been in video games, which have not been affected by this. So, or in TV, recurring royalties for TV, obviously that doesn't change. But with no new episodes getting made either, you're kind of relying on reruns and stuff. So it's definitely, taking its toll on everyone. I know from publishers I work with, they're obviously kind of saying the same thing. They're getting a lot less placements, and when they are getting placements, they're for a lot less money because they're for Netflix or Amazon or a streaming service rather than a theatrical trailer. So yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see how this plays out and how soon they can start pumping out movies and TV shows again to to kind of spur the business on.
Yeah, I was wondering last night, they started opening up Hollywood productions again, like, I don't know, 5 or 6 weeks ago. And then we've had this, what some would say is a second wave of COVID. Others would say it's a continuation thereof. I haven't seen anything, and I do look at the like Variety.com website once a week probably, and IMDb several times a week. I haven't seen much chit chat about what's going on as far as productions. Do you know if have they halted them again, or are they?
I'm not too sure. I'm the same way. I usually kind of keep an eye on different websites to see what's new and what's coming out, and what's kind of hot at the moment, to know what kind of music is kind of going to be needed in the next 6 months, that sort of thing. And it is just so dead. I'm like, wow, there's just nothing. I mean, it's really kind of bizarre. I feel like we're in like a post-apocalyptic world where we're waiting for something to happen,
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely weird. The only things I see coming out are small indie films that just go straight to streaming platforms anyway, or made for TV movies. But even those are few and far between. And I think with movie theaters, I don't know how it is there. Here in Salt Lake, they're pretty much closed. We've got a few that are open, but they're just showing old movies.
Yeah.
Just which is great. I didn't get a chance to see Raiders of the Lost Ark back when it came out in the theaters, so we just went and saw that the other night. But
were there like 10 people in the room sitting together?
Right. Yeah, that's the thing. They only let people buy on every third row or something like that, and always keep 5 seats between every party.
Yeah.
And so you walk in and there's just a handful of people in this giant auditorium, right? It's almost creepy, but I guess it gives people the feeling that we're getting some semblance of normalcy back.
Yeah, I wonder why people haven't been shooting, especially like sitcoms. Imagine if Seinfeld or Friends or even Curb Your Enthusiasm, a show that is current. They should be shooting episodes where it's about today, with everybody wearing a mask who is on camera. I mean,
yep.
I think
there's a lot of good material there.
Yeah, Curb Your Enthusiasm. I mean, who better than Larry David to wear a mask and do that,
Right, yes, exactly. Yeah, I've been really surprised that nothing like that is out. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if, down the road we see a flood of shows that come out about that, but you'd think, something current would be pretty successful, and people are so desperate for something new to watch right now.
Yeah. Yeah,
I mean, we're all desperate for anything at this point.
I've seen the phrase, I've watched the entire internet twice in the last 24 hours.
Right, yeah, that's exactly it. I mean, I'm keeping busy, and we just moved, so we're just packed. We just moved into a new house on Monday, so we're in chaos right now, and we're still bored, Even with all of that, we're still bored. So, yeah, hopefully something changes soon.
Yeah, we keep waiting for the other shoe to drop as far as the number of listings coming into Taxi. But I've got to say, we saw a rush of COVID-related stuff when this all first kind of became our new reality. And then that stuff dried up because I think everybody kind of loaded up on what they thought they needed. And then, things are pretty much status quo as far as the number of new listings coming in. We still keep getting them. So, I mean, in some cases, we're fortunate that people we know that have been with a particular library, maybe like VP of a library for a number of years, and now they've gone out to start their own, or people that had a smaller library want to grow it. So we've had a nice influx of, actually, I think these are even better opportunities than normal for our members because they're new opportunities and new relationships that they can build. So I'm happy about that. But, I live with a little thing in the back of my brain going, gosh, I hope I don't wake up one day and we can't get any listings to come in. That would be horrible.
I don't think that'll ever happen.
Yeah, I hope not. Wow, wow, wow. Well, I think I've run out of brilliant questions. Oh, a couple of people in the chat room. Let's see. Oh, somebody asked if your stuff is native or it's standalone.
No, it all runs in the contact full version,
Okay. Um,
and it does support the older version, 5.8 and above. So you don't have to buy the newest contact Stixx in order to use them. It supports the old 5.8.
right. Um, I had another question. Oh, we haven't really, other than on Taxi on the Quarantini Happy Hour, we really haven't talked about the fact that it's extremely likely. Officially, I can't say that the road rally this year will be happening online, but we have to wait for the hotel to release us from the contract, which will happen when we're like exactly 90 days out. So technically, I can't say that we're not going to have it at the hotel yet. But
Right.
in the advent that it does happen online, um, the format it would likely take would be a 3-day format like the road rally. And it will be 60-minute and 90-minute panels. I'm going to probably shy away from doing, although I can't say this with absolute certainty, probably shy away from doing multi-people panels just because every other company's stuff that I've watched where they've got 3, 4, or 5 people, somebody's always got, laggy Wi-Fi at home or laggy bandwidth, leaving their house and going back up to the cloud.
Right.
So I'm a little afraid. I don't want to spend an entire panel going, are you there, Bob? I mean, that could ruin the whole cadence of a panel.
Right.
So I'm thinking it might be really fascinating to have you do some video demos of your stuff. Send me those files. I can load them into Wirecast, and I can actually play them rather than my usual playing them through speakers. I could just click on, they basically load up in layers like when you're video editing. So you could talk about something, then I could play a 30-second clip, then you can talk about it and answer questions. Would you be up for doing something like that?
Yeah, that'd be fun.
All right, cool. Probably wouldn't hurt to remind me. I'm looking for some of my rally notes stuff that I could write that down on. None of it's within arm's reach right now, but I think that would be cool.
Yeah, it would be fun.
Doing
sure.
An entire 60-minute thing on, basically found sounds used in trailers or something like that.
Yeah, that would be really cool, and we could even show a little bit of the source recording turned into something cool, and how it's used and that sort of thing. It'd be fun.
Great. Well, you got about 100 days to start prepping that
All
stuff.
right.
So yes, start worrying
I'll
about
remind
it.
you in 50 days then.
All right, yeah, and start working on it now, because as long as you send me the video clips, I can load them in and just play them, like a real TV show.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Yeah.
Cool. All right. Any other news you'd like to share with the audience?
Oh gosh, I can't think of much other than I appreciate the everyone going and checking out our site. We're clearly not trying to make a fortune off of them, because we sell our instruments pretty cheap so that everyone can afford them. But we've got 6 instruments now, so that we've made this year. So they're all up there waiting to be tried out, and hope everyone checks them out and enjoys them. And especially Trailer Trash. Again, two more weeks of our donations to Shriners, so it would be awesome to see a nice spike in sales for that charity.
Awesome. Well, I hope everybody goes to buy it. The website again is falloutmusicgroup.com. Or is it Fallout? It's falloutmusicgroup.com, right? Group is in there?
That's correct.
All right, cool. Well, thank you, man. Always great catching up with you. Sorry that I haven't responded to your email, and congrats on the new house. Are you still in the same town?
Different town, but it's all kind of part of Salt Lake. So it's we're just in a different suburb of Salt Lake now.
Right. Okay. Great.
Well, thanks.
Yeah. Talk to you soon, and say hi to your family and to the other guys at Fallout, and let's keep in touch about the rally. All right.
All right, sounds great. Thanks, Michael.
All right. Thanks, Randon.
All right,
Randon
we'll see ya.
Purcell, everybody. Woohoo! Bye, bye, Randon. All right, well, that was fun. It was pretty impromptu, actually. I just had the idea like 5 minutes before we went live. I texted Randon and just said, hey, want to come on the show today? I felt bad because I didn't return his email. So we've got 15 minutes left, kids. What do you want to do with that time? Wow, Tony Robbins did Date with Destiny and Zoom with 20,000 people, and they said it was great. Yeah, it's 20,000 attendees, but try and have 5 panelists. That's the thing, I've been watching a lot of other people's stuff, and every single one that I've seen with multiple panelists. The funniest stuff, actually, is when maybe it's not laggy or glitchy, but when people who are panelists, they're working with a laptop and they've got terrible lighting and the laptop is sitting right in front of them so they can reach the keyboard, and they tilt the screen up and they're using the camera that's built into the laptop, and you literally can see how many nose hairs they have, and if they have a popcorn ceiling or a flat ceiling. So wow, Marion Laird just finished cooking a cheeseburger. Oh, what I wouldn't give for a cheeseburger right now. Yeah, let's talk about fishing. I always love talking about fishing. Man, I've been dying. I keep saying to my wife, we should just zip down to Cancun for leave on Thursday and come home Sunday or Monday and just go down there. All I would do would be fish every day. But I haven't even talked to the guide that I use down there. I don't know. But funny thing is, ironically, we actually cover our faces when we're fishing anyway. We wear, I don't have it nearby, but kind of like a face wrap thing that keeps you from, getting sunburned out there. So, don't I live near the water? I actually do. I mean, we're like a 12-minute drive away from the Pacific Ocean, but I don't enjoy fishing in the Pacific. It's rough water. It's cold water. You have to basically get on a boat at like 11 o'clock at night and just go to sleep down in the belly of the boat. They have these like net hammocks, and basically it's like being on a pirate ship. With like 25 guys down there, and they've got like a little kitchen that makes really bad egg and sausage sandwiches and wraps and stuff in the morning when you wake up. But basically you leave at 11 o'clock at night, you sleep till like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, you wake up, you have your coffee, eat the crummy breakfast, and then you start fishing just before sunrise. But it's just way too much work. In Cancun, I get on like a little 20-foot boat for 2 people, with a little poling platform in the back, and I know my guide, and the water is like super smooth and crystal clear, and you see the fish and you cast at these beautiful fish. It's literally like hunting. You see them and you cast at them, and you have to cast far enough in front of them that when you jig the bait back, it catches their attention, but you don't want to put the bait or whatever you're casting like, a foot in front of their nose, because they would just take off. So it's fun. And for those of you who love animals, as do I release everything I catch unless I'm going to eat one that night. How's the backyard? Justin Mather wants to know. Well, I see one rabbit out there, and he's on his back smoking a cigarette, so apparently he got lucky. I didn't know rabbits smoked. That's funny. Anyway, I still have one persistent gopher that I cannot catch because he's not doing any lateral tunneling. He's coming from way down deep and going straight up. Nothing else really going on. The tomatoes are doing great. The tomato plants are growing rapidly. We've got lots of flowers, a few tomatoes. I've got Peter Rahill says he found himself a Playboy bunny. Very good. Couple of my tomatoes are now like bigger than a hard ball, smaller than a softball, but they haven't started turning color yet. Can't wait to eat those. Hey, Keith LeBrand, how are you, buddy? Um, Robert Orszachowski says, I know how to get that gopher. Play some Kenny Loggins and he'll come up rocking. Uh, Magna chamber gophers, the worst. Seriously, I wouldn't be surprised if I see Magna coming out of that hole. And I've stuck the hose in the ground and turned it on and let it run for like a half hour, expecting water to come out somewhere in the hillside. Nothing. Have I used the smoker again? No, but we are this Sunday. We were going to use it this past Sunday, but ended up not. But I am going to do my first smoked brisket this Sunday. And so that means, I haven't even thought about what I'm going to do on Taxi TV Monday. So you know what? Maybe I'll make a smoked brisket sandwich and eat it on the air. Wouldn't that be exciting? Oh, man. Give us a surprise face. There you go, Ariana. There's the smiley face. I can't pose. I'm sorry. Two things I do not do well, and that is give a speech from a script and pose for photos. I can ad-lib all day long, as you guys well know. I can talk about nothing better than Seinfeld can. I can talk about nothing endlessly. I have no idea how many hours I've talked about nothing on the Quarantinis, but I bet it's probably, I don't know, 100, 200 hours. How many Quarantini shows have we done now? I mean, let's see. We started right around April 20-something. So let's call it April 25th, May 25th, June 25th, July 25th. So probably about, and that's 3 months times 4 shows a week. So it's 12 weeks. So really only about 50, is that right? Huh, interesting. Feels like hundreds. Yeah, I'm getting all these different numbers from you guys. Take your favorite portrait, use the one for everything. It is like a Disney movie in the Lascaux backyard. You read on TV. Why am I watching? Oh, man. Yeah, I do okay when I'm quoting from a book on Taxi TV. I can read it with emphasis. Oh, good. Ariana got what she needed. She thinks she got what she needed. When I see it, I'll probably yeah. Yeah, what am I going to do on Monday? I actually had an idea for Monday's actual Taxi TV. I don't know. I feel like there's a squirrel about 12 feet away from me on the other side of the glass. Little baby squirrel. I did see a crow eat a lizard in my backyard. Oh, here's an interesting factoid. We have these little birds. Nobody knows what they're called, but they're like the size of a sparrow, and they're all over our backyard. Some of them, it looks like the males have like a little mohawk on top of their heads. They're really cute. And they're constantly like flitting around the backyard, grabbing up insects that are in the grass or flying just above the lawn. We're up to 63 shows. Wow. It feels like 630. I mean, I enjoy them, obviously. I wouldn't keep doing them if I didn't enjoy it, but it feels like we've done so many more. I wonder how smoked squirrel tastes, because he's standing right by the smoker as we speak. Anyway, these little black birds with the mohawks, my wife is always telling me she tends to spend her Saturdays sitting out in the backyard under an awning with a good book and a cup of tea and, like cheese and crackers or whatever. And she said, you haven't heard those little blackbirds make the clicking sound? It's like, no, what the hell are you talking about? Now, admittedly, some of the top end is gone on my hearing from years in the studio. No, these aren't wrens. I don't know what they are. Anyway, I was out in the backyard yesterday or the day before watching my tomatoes grow, which is certainly like watching paint dry. And I actually heard one of the birds grab something, and it does. It makes like a little sound when they get the bugs. So there you go. How's that for fascinating television, everybody? It does feel like way more shows, Justin. It really does. Did I see Dean Crepane in the house? That's a great idea. I should turn the smoker on and take a garden hose and hook it up to the exhaust on the top of the smoker and stick that down in the hole. I wonder how smoked gopher tastes. I'm sure if you were a prison inmate, they would taste great. Watching Outlander, there's some scenes where there are some guys who spend inordinate amounts of time in basically dungeon prisons. And at one point, there was a kind of a kindly warden of one of the prisons, and he tells one of his underlings, all right, I want you to make sure to, get rid of all those rats. Even though these men are in prisons, they shouldn't have, shouldn't have to share their existence with rats. And the guy's like, no, don't get rid of the rats. That's what we eat for dinner. I hear they actually taste like chicken, and I'm not being facetious. 63 Quarantini episodes so far. 63 hours of fascinating television. Wow. Cass said that the gophers would taste like roots and bugs. You're right. Smoked gopher with a glass of Pruno. I don't know what Pruno is. Yeah, you're right. Randon probably would sample the clicking of the beaks and make an instrument out of it. What was your most challenging, difficult mixing, producing, mastering projects, and why? All right, we've got 3 minutes. Let me think. It'll take me 4 minutes to come up with an answer to that. Probably the Melanie Ballroom Streets record. For those of you who aren't in the loop, I think most of you guys have heard me play snippets of that record and have heard me talk endlessly about it on the shows. We recorded a double live album every night, live in the studio with a live audience. The band playing probably 95% of all the instruments live. The vocals were largely done live. We had the audience drunk and stoned on the floor of the studio. I had to have live monitors for the band members. They really didn't want to wear headphones. So, like, the keyboard player had wedges blowing in his face, the guitar players, the vocals, everybody had wedges. And then I had speakers. I think I put a pair of JBL 4311s, which are basically some pretty beefy 12-inch three-ways, out in the studio so that the audience could actually get a mix. So it was like a live PA mix plus like 6 different monitor mixes for the band members, recording all that live while it was happening. And then we would take the 2-inch masters and look for the best sections from each of the performances every night and cut together the best performances. So we might have, 4 bars from night number 1, and maybe the next 30 seconds was from the same song done night number 2. So once I decided on my settings, I really couldn't change a lot, because it would make the stuff very difficult to edit if you had, like if I changed the compressor on Melanie's voice and I used different segments of the song from different nights, she would sound differently. So cutting all that stuff together, finding performances that felt great, just had a great spirit and vibe going on, that were, on tempo, and everything just sounded good. Then cutting that together and mixing it, there were problems. And I mixed most of the songs in that record anywhere between like an hour to 3 hours per song, because we also wanted to play the console, as Ken Calais says, play the console like an instrument. Didn't and automation was just in its very, very early stages back then. We tried using automation, it just sucked. So we ended up doing it live, sometimes the two or three of us standing at the console and me calling out mix cues to people. So that was the most challenging thing, because I'd have to remember that, like, the first line of the second verse came from night number 6, and that it was a little lower in volume, or maybe Melanie was standing farther away from the microphone, so I would have to do mix moves and remember those moves to compensate. So it was extremely difficult, extremely challenging, but extremely rewarding. I felt like I'd conquered the world when we finished that record, and to this day, probably my greatest achievement as an engineer. Anyway, okay, well, Ariana is talking to the kids in the chat room. What's going on? Have I missed something while I was busy talking about that? Anyway, I missed that. I'll have to go back and read that later. Was that Uptown Automation? No, it was MCI Automation. It was terrible. You actually had to use track 24 on your multi-track, and that's where it stored the digital information. Anyway, all right, you guys, so there we are. We're a minute over. Oh my gosh, once again, I've gone over. Do me a favor, go into the comments after today's show. The archive is up, and please give me some suggestions for things that we could do a Taxi TV about on Monday. I want to start thinking about that, because we'd like to get that kind of wrapped up and planned by Thursday of the preceding week. So thank you all for being in attendance today. It was a fun show. Randon Purcell was awesome. I can't wait to check out the trailer trash and the clicking branches. Have a great night. Wow, that rabbit is still out there on his back, smiling, leisurely enjoying a cigarette. I think he's got a glass of champagne in his other hand now. That's what I would call a lucky rabbit. See you guys tomorrow. Have a nice evening. Thanks, Ariana. Bye-bye.